Saga Survivors.
Welcome to the very first episode of Saga Survivors. I'm your host, Tony Kenobi, and today it's going to be a nice short episode, and I'm just going to go over some of my favorite fandoms and what to expect in this podcast. So, to start, all-time favorite fandom is definitely Star Wars. Live, die, eat, sleep, Star Wars. All of it. I loved it since I was a kid. I think one of the greatest aspects of Star Wars for me was just being a Jedi and having that meditative, very conscious way of being. And it actually came out in my life in a bunch of different ways. And so I'll always love Star Wars for that, for introducing me to meditation in times that I needed it, for all of the other aspects to it as well. But being a Jedi was pretty profound for me. And so Star Wars will always be number one. Then, of course, is Marvel. Such a marvelous franchise, I would say. From being a kid and watching the X-Men series or Spider-Man, man, it brings me back. It's so nostalgic, and having some of the X-Men figures, most of them belong to my uncle, but only being 5 years older, I would go and sneak and play with all his X-Men toys, and always wanting them for my own. And now that kind of brings me a little bit ahead, but now I own a lot of them. I'm a pretty big figure collector, and X-Men are actually some of my favorite figures to collect. Although I love the Black Series Star Wars figures, the Marvel, they're on point, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, Marvel is definitely, with the new Phase 4 and some of the release of Phase 6 coming out, man, those movies got me so hype. I'm excited to watch them, to explore them with you guys, to share my viewpoints, maybe have some guests on, talk about it further. Yeah, just Marvel. Marvel is bae. Then I have to say the Harry Potter fandom, all the aspects of the magical world, the storytelling. To be honest, I have to say the Harry Potter novels definitely got to me more than the movies, but the movies were pretty great too. And man, this new Harry Potter video game coming out is gonna be fantastic, and I cannot wait to play it, to stream it, and to enjoy it, enjoy all the aspects of running around as a little wizard and just going to Hogwarts. By the way, I am House Ravenclaw. Let me know what you are in the comments below. Then, The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings goes deep. The Lord of the Rings was written in the 50s, but The Hobbit before that was in the 30s. So the creativity of The Lord of the Rings is so deep, and little aspects of it is sprinkled out through all of the fandoms, because it's one of the OGs. It's just a great story about friendship and overcoming your issues, and it's definitely seen so much just trickled out in all of the other fandoms that we love. And I'm actually going through for the first time the Lord of the Rings audiobook, and it has so much more detail than the movie, which makes sense, right? The movies are already 3.5 hours a piece pretty much, but man, the books are just so, they're dense, but listening to them, it's a nice easy tale. So I'm really enjoying that. And yeah, so that's another fandom. And I guess I would say one more fandom, and don't get me wrong, these are just the basic, like the ones that I love, but I'm into all different types of shows and movies and pop culture type shows. I'm into all that stuff, but I have to say fandoms from, being young and just like them having a role in my life and my influences is more of what I'm talking about when I say my current fandoms and what I'm getting into right now. But Resident Evil is such a great franchise. And personally, to me, it was just great when I was younger, sitting there and watching my uncle play the first one, like, getting so excited and going and bothering him to, hey, are you going to play Resident Evil? Just because I wanted to watch him. I wanted to see, the puzzles and the zombies. And so recently I actually went through and beat all of them and the remakes, and it just got me so much deeper into it. And for a long time, I didn't really play video games that often, but I ended up scoring a PS5 through a friend. Shout out Jake. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate you. Love you, bro. But I got a PS5, and since then I started gaming and just really getting into it and streaming, and so I've really been enjoying myself. And yeah, the Resident Evil series is just like, especially the remakes, because they went back to basics. They went back to more of the puzzles and less of like the first person shooter type. I guess it was third person, but still it was less of an action game and more of the puzzles than what Resident Evil really was. And then that new Netflix series was something else. I know it got a lot of flack and it didn't make enough money and people are complaining about it, and it's actually been canceled, but man, I thought it was great. Me and my girlfriend ended up binging it in one weekend. And yeah, so huge Resident Evil fan as well. But yeah, if there's any other fandoms that you guys want to hear about, I'm open to checking them out, and just leave it in the comments below, and we'll definitely touch base on it and go over some stuff. I'm always open to new fandoms and new shows and new movies to check out. So I briefly mentioned that I do enjoy audiobooks, and that might be an understatement. I actually just moved into an apartment with my partner, and as I organized and cleaned and got it all ready, I actually listened to Queen's Peril. It's a Star Wars book from the point of view of Padme Amidala. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely go check out Audible. There might be, sometimes they have them on YouTube or Spotify. It's a great listen. But I do listen to audiobooks pretty frequently while I'm cleaning, cooking, driving around, most of my house husband duties. Yeah, so it's great. It's one of my favorite things, so I'll definitely be touching on that in these episodes of the different audiobooks that I'm listening to, of ones that I recommend, and I'll do my best not to spoil them because I want you guys to enjoy it the same way I do. I also mentioned a little bit about Resident Evil and video games and things like that. Now I do stream, and so right now I'm currently streaming Red Dead Redemption and Shadows of Mordor. Now Shadows of Mordor came out in 2000, I believe 16, so it's a little bit older, but it is still such a great play. Like I think it's pretty fantastic. And Red Dead is a little old too, and I just keep hearing from other friends that the online isn't that great, but I didn't play it before the last couple of months. Like I had it, but I didn't actually get to it and like really dive in until more recently. And I'm enjoying myself. It may not be the newest, it might not be the best. GTA might be getting way more love and more missions and all that stuff, but I really enjoy Red Dead. I just got a new horse, so I'm really enjoying riding her around and just, hopping on there with some friends. And I almost have enough money for a posse, so I'm working on that. The money's not the same in GTA, you just don't have an unlimited supply at first. So I'm excited, and I'm going to keep playing that and streaming it. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on our YouTube channel, Saga Survivors. And then the last thing I'll mention for today, like I said, I'm going to keep this episode nice and short, just a little synopsis of what to expect with this podcast, but I will be mentioning my figure collection. Going over a figure. I might not buy a new figure every week, but I will be talking about one, describing it. Hopefully soon I'll have my YouTube channel all set up for that as well. And so I'm not just going to be describing a figure to you guys. I can show you them. And I have a whole setup. I have my nice little office here. So I have all my Star Wars stuff, all my Marvel figures. I have a couple of other ones. And so it'd be cool to share it with you guys as well. I'm excited for this podcast. I'm excited to nerd out with you guys. And I'm excited to hear what you guys think and get some feedback on what you want to hear more of. So thanks guys for listening this far. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And tune in next week for another episode of Saga Survivors. Peace, guys.
Saga Survivors.